let's play some offensive line dominoes. And of course, I'm going to need the whiteboard for this. All right, Steve, got to get you on the whiteboard. You know, Chad Simmons has done the whiteboard a couple times, but we haven't gotten you to the whiteboard. So let me explain it real quick. Here are some of the top available offensive linemen in America that are still uncommitted. And these are simply teams that need a stud offensive lineman. And as we can see, there are more teams in need than there is supply. So these are very valuable pieces left on the board. So Steve, let's start at the top with David Sanders. When it comes to David Sanders, we'll start with who's involved and then wrap it up with where you're leaning.
Well, Ohio State and Tennessee are the two programs that I think are in the best shape for David Sanders, but you also have Nebraska in his top four and Georgia in his top four. Georgia is in the mix for a few of these guys on the board, as people will learn as we continue to go through these names. So we expect Georgia to finish strong at the point of attack. Ohio State, they already have Carter Lowe in the fold at offensive tackle, and Tennessee has one of the top interior guys, Douglas Utu, in the fold, as both these programs try and land difference makers as they continue to make championship pushes for year to come. I think everyone knows by now where I stand on David Sanders Jr. I'm giving an inch to Ohio State, but not ruling anyone out. I think he'll take some visits next week, or at least I think there's a good chance. I think there's a chance. I know I wouldn't be surprised if David Sanders takes some visits next week.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. We still got some time on David Sanders. Up next is Michael Fusi. Now, he has set a decision date. Let's start with Michael Fusi. Who are the main players and which way you lean it?
Well, you have the Texas Longhorns, the Oklahoma Sooners, and the Texas A&M Aggies. Those are the programs I'm looking at closest from his top five.
Right.
Now, Michael Fusi, in my opinion, when you move past the quarterbacks, is one of the highest demand NIL athletes in the country. When I hear some of the numbers behind the scenes for Michael Fusi, these programs are very serious in getting this young man in the fold. So it'll be interesting to see how NIL shapes his recruitment down the stretch. It's certainly not the only element for him, as he's looking for a place that can develop him on and off the field, a place where he has good relationships with coaches. But I just want to emphasize how much of a priority he is to these programs with the NIL numbers going around on him. So maybe I give the edge to Texas as I talk to you right now, but the Aggies and Oklahoma are very much in the mix for Michael Fusi, because he was very comfortable there on his many visits to campus. And I think all these programs are very serious about trying to land Michael Fusi going into the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Fusi, one of the hottest recruitments of the summer. It's going to come to an end, though, here soon. All right, Andrew Babalola, another monster offensive lineman. He's been taking his visits this summer. Steve, where's he been? Who are the main contenders? And where do you think he's leaning?
Well, we just talked about the NIL component for Michael Fusi and how sought after he is in that arena. I think he's got a chance to really be a big-time earner with, again, the numbers that you're hearing behind the scenes. Andrew Babalola, when you start talking about 5 stars, he might have been the last prospect to have an NIL discussion regarding what his potential worth is on the trail. Stanford and Michigan are the programs that I'm looking at closest with him, but certainly Missouri, Oklahoma, and Auburn are 3 others that he has a keen eye on. He's been trying to make a decision. I like where Stanford and the Maize and Blue currently stand, but we've been surprised before.
All right, we know Auburn got him on campus, Michigan involved. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, you've been pretty adamant that Stanford has been in the lead now for at least the last 4 to 6 weeks. All right.
I've also been saying to watch Michigan, though. I want to make sure the viewers know that it's not like I'm just sitting here on a Stanford island. That Michigan boat is hovering around, and he might jump on that bad boy too.
All right. Now, Josh Petty is ranked as an interior offensive lineman, but a lot of teams are recruiting him as an offensive tackle. But either way, he's got a ton of value in the trenches. Josh Petty right now, what's it looking like, Steve?
Yeah, and to your point, a couple schools even like him as a center. So he's got that 5-position type skill set with his length and ability to move and bend. Florida State's the on-3 RPM prediction. Georgia Tech, you might have to write them in, Josh.
Yeah, we got a new entry here. Georgia
Right
Tech.
in Georgia Tech. You know, they're in the equation. Tennessee's got some family ties there,
That's right.
people around him that are Vols fans. And Ohio State is another
They're involved,
program
yeah.
in the middle of it for Josh Petty as well. I think Florida State's style of play, the conference they're in, his sister being a freshman in Tallahassee right now, those are reasons why I like Florida State for Josh Petty. But Georgia Tech, man, they're in the middle of it for a few guys down the stretch, and that's another program that Chad Simmons and I are hearing to watch.
Yeah, that recruitment's heating up as he's going to make his decision this summer. Now, Malachi Goodman, one of the big men in the Northeast that is still available. He's out of New Jersey. Who's in it for Malachi Goodman? Which way are you leaning?
Well, we know Alabama's not in it. They're done at the
They're
position.
done.
They were one of the schools that he was looking at strongly. Penn State, there's some buzz around the Nittany Lions. They need to close these blue chippers here. They're on a tough stretch on the trail right now. They have a good class, but they're looking to find some momentum. Maybe they do with Malachi Goodman. Auburn is in the thick of it for him, and so is USC. Those are the three programs I'm hearing the most about with Malachi Goodman right now. A little more buzz maybe around Penn State.
Really?
But we've seen that with some other guys that have gone elsewhere. So that's what Auburn and USC are looking to have happen. And they've hosted Malachi Goodman a couple times apiece as well.
All right, we like Penn State right now for Malachi Goodman. And then we got a couple more here. Cortez Smith out of South Georgia and Juan Gaston also out of Georgia. Well, let's start with Cortez Smith. He's making his decision this Saturday, Steve. Who's in it?
Yeah, I like Georgia. The
Okay.
other programs he's high on, Georgia Tech, South Carolina, and Miami. But Georgia's looked like the team to beat for a long time. At my previous place of employment, I had a prediction in favor of Georgia, probably close to locking that in here at on 3 as we're in decision week for him. But he's excited about all 4 of his finalists.
Okay, now Juan Gaston, he's made a bunch of visits. He's been high on a bunch of teams, but he's coming down to a decision. What do you think for Juan Gaston?
I like Georgia for Juan Gaston.
Really?
I think that they've poured a lot of time into this recruitment. My on-3 RPM is on the Bulldogs for him. He's going to commit in August. Now, Tennessee and Oregon are a couple programs that are doing what they can to change the momentum in that recruitment. But I like where Georgia stands for Juan Gaston. Their push for the number 1 class could include a couple of those 4-star linemen in Cortez and Juan. They're taking a big swing at David Sanders Jr., but while I think they maybe trail a little for him, we'll see what happens. They got a great chance to land Cortez and Juan.
All right. Well, Steve, I mean, we talked through it, and we gave the people a very simple roadmap to where the top uncommitted offensive lineman could end up. Now, we like Ohio State. We doubly like Georgia. We think Georgia could land 2 of these top remaining uncommitted targets. FSU could pick up 1, Stanford, Texas, and Penn State. The others will still be fighting to the finish to land one of these guys. We'll see what happens. But, hey, take a picture, write it down. This is probably how it's all going to happen.